There's a story my mom never told anyone until recently. It's about my dad, who thought he controlled everything in our house, and about the tiny acts of rebellion that no one ever saw, except me. If you've ever felt powerless in your own home, or wondered what happens when small acts of rebellion start quietly changing everything, stay with me. Hit like, subscribe, and get ready for a story about secrets, pettiness, and unexpected justice. I grew up in a house where my dad ruled with invisible fists. Not the kind that left bruises, but the kind that break you from the inside, psychologically, emotionally, financially. Mom worked hard. She did everything. Her job, the house, my siblings, and somehow still found energy to keep the peace. But my dad, he never grew up. Man-child is the only way to describe him. Temperamental, self-centered. Every little thing had to go his way. One of the simplest tasks in our house. Packing his lunch. 2 sandwiches, a soda, snack cakes, crackers. Standard blue-collar fare. But the moment my mom forgot, he'd erupt like a storm. I was a teenager who hated feeling trapped under his rule. Angry, bitter, and tired of tiptoeing around a grown man who acted like a toddler. IT started small. I'd help mom in the mornings. Pack my dad's lunch. It was supposed to be a simple, quiet act. But one night, I got creative. I drew something in mustard on his sandwich. A penis. Simple, dumb, silly, but secretly satisfying. He never noticed. And that's when it became my little ritual. Every time I packed his lunch, every single sandwich had a hidden mark. I felt a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. What if he found out? But he didn't. The power, however small, was intoxicating. It started small. I'd help mom in the mornings. Pack my dad's lunch. It was supposed to be a simple, quiet act. But one night, I got creative. I drew something in mustard on his sandwich. A penis. Simple, dumb, silly, but secretly satisfying. He never noticed. And that's when it became my little ritual. Every time I packed his lunch, every single sandwich had a hidden mark. I felt a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. What if he found out? But he didn't. The power, however small, was intoxicating. I rationalized it. I told myself it wasn't malicious. Just a tiny rebellion. A way to reclaim some control in a house where I felt invisible. Mom noticed eventually. But instead of scolding me, she laughed. She admitted she had been drawing her own artwork on his sandwiches too. Pettiness, it turns out, ran in the family. I realized then, rebellion didn't have to be dramatic. Sometimes, it could be quiet, invisible, and devastatingly effective in ways the target never suspects. The most ironic part? Years later, I confessed everything to my mom. We laughed until we cried. But imagine this, a grown man, constantly controlling, unknowingly eating a dozen tiny acts of defiance every week for years. Humiliating, but in a silent, sweet sort of justice. It was my subtle way of saying, I see you. I see what you've done, and I will not let it define me. There was no shouting, no explosive arguments, just quiet realization. Mom once said, "You know, I used to do this too." And he never noticed? I asked. Never. He's too busy thinking he's the center of the universe. Sometimes confrontation isn't a fight. Sometimes it's a revelation, small, cruel, perfect. The real transformation wasn't in my dad. It was in me. I stopped feeling powerless. I found humor in the absurd. I learned that small acts of courage or pettiness can be profoundly liberating. And my mom? She smiled differently after sharing her own secret. Respect and power shifted quietly in our household. Invisible. Life isn't always about confrontation or justice served dramatically. Sometimes, it's about reclaiming your own power in subtle ways. Marriage, family, relationships. Sometimes the loudest wake-up call is the quietest rebellion. If this story made you laugh, think, or nod along, hit like and comment below. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? And don't forget to subscribe for more emotionally charged, transformative stories.